us up.
Okay, super. So, I mean, we just did the intro, but I'm Corey. Mari-Lyn and I think we've known each other for a little more than 2 years already. I remember, I forgot how it came about, but we did a podcast on kindness at work, similar field, but it was focused around some of the coaching work that I've done and how I help pull kindness through people or through the accountability. So learning more about the opportunity to come and speak about kindness in a different outlet in terms of the ROI of kindness, I decided to do less about me and more about like an overview of my interpretation of the return on investment of kindness. So I just put together, this is the first time I'm giving this particular talk, but I put together a nice little overview here. And basically what I plan to do with us is kind of together go about and frame kindness next. So basically want to frame kindness, get a sense of what we mean by it, especially in relation to the workplace. Then I want to see if we could do a discussion. There's not many of us, but we could still have some nice dialogue around what's this ideal kind place, or essentially what's the ideal workplace that for us that has kindness integrated. Then I'll go over some of the impacts of kindness that I've seen, whether it's just like more qualitative, such as like creating happiness, or some more of the metrics oriented. And then because I'm very action oriented, and for me, kindness is a verb, I just put together some examples of activities that I think that if we brought to the workplace could actually help cultivate more kindness. So yeah, as Mari-Lyn mentioned, my background's coming from, right now I call everything entertainment for impact that I do. And my mission is to use technology, TV, games as a way to not just raise awareness of different social challenges or community needs, but activate participation. And so I originally got inspired to go down this path through personal development coaching, which to me was like a form of kindness, that I was able to work directly with people that needed some motivation. They needed some accountability or guidance in their own development. And so through that coaching and a lot of powerful questioning, I started to look for ways that I could not substitute, but add to the coaching that I was doing, because the problem was that I only had opportunity like 1 to 2 hours a day to work with these people. And if they weren't keeping themselves motivated, the accountability was missing and no growth was happening. And so one of the first things I went to do is I went and made this application called the Good Cards. And Kimberly was just speaking about these like kind agents. And this is what the Good Cards essentially was. I ended up selling the company off, but the program was you would receive a physical card and you would scan it in an app, and it would give you a mission to go in the world and do an act of kindness. It could be like cleaning up litter. It could be anonymous good deed to a friend, or it could be something like self-love, self-care. And what happened is people added the story in the app about what they did and then passed their card on. And as this card traveled from person to person, you could see that ripple effect and read those stories. So it's finally a way to start to see the influence your kind actions have. And I did bring this to a couple corporations for employee engagement activity. So we had some companies playing the Good Cards as a way to create that culture of kindness. And then where I brought it more was into schools, connecting it to social emotional learning for students. So typically, right, we see students that are just sitting in a chair, they're learning something, and it's very passive. And so what my intention was of bringing to the classroom was to make it more active oriented. So you sit in the classroom, you learn about compassion, kindness, doing good, and then you get sent on this Good Card mission to go in the real world. And then so from there, I went on to help working with what's called Fun Funding, which is an online gaming platform where people are now able to play online games and earn dollar donations for a charity, as well as where my main focus is at Kindness Media Studios, where we're working on a few different media projects to kind of shift society through entertainment and inspire positive action. And so I guess like here, I don't know how to change it so I could see everybody, but I just want to go through and like frame kindness. So maybe people could put on their mic and share some thoughts. Well, like, what does kindness mean to you?
You could quit sharing your screen if you wanted.
Okay. Yeah, that would be cool. I know there's only a few of us, but does any specific words or actions or ideas come to mind when we think of this world of kindness?
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Gina, good to see you here.
So I talk about, in my presentation or my talk that I'm going to do, everything is energy, and energy is very contagious. So, what you put out, into the world, spreads. So I think, as far as kindness goes, it's contagious, right? Energy. And the more that you, are kind and empathetic to other people and what you do, you can spread to make the world a better place. So that's what it's about, for me, energy and positive energy. And as I say, I always spread light and love wherever I go.
Right.
So it's very important, I think. And as Carol read yesterday, which I have to tell you, Carol, I had chills the entire time, and maybe you can read it again because I loved it so much. Your story.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, because it did, it meant a lot to me.
Well, you never know one little act of kindness what will do to change somebody.
So maybe you can read it. Maybe you can read it, Corey, if you don't mind.
I would love that. Yeah.
Want to do it now or at the end of your presentation?
Let's do it now because it's relevant. Because it
It's
sounds
relevant.
like
It shows it shows how
Exactly.
powerful kindness can do. I'm sorry, Corey, but I figured
Don't
it's
be,
a perfect
please.
time.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I just have to find it. Let's see. So
That sums it all up of exactly how powerful kindness can be. So, Corey, I think this would really.
Yeah, please.
I found it, but what I want to say was, anyway, so here's the story.
Yeah.
So, a little boy put on his clothes for the cold and told his father, "Okay, Daddy, I'm ready." His daddy, the pastor, said, "Ready for what?" "Dad, it's time to go outside and distribute our flyers." Dad replied, "Son, it's very cold outside. It's drizzling like it is here in San Jose today." Didn't say that, though. The child looked surprised at his father and said, "But Dad, people need to know about God even on rainy days." Dad replied, "Son, I'm not going outside in this weather." Dad replied, "Son, I'm not going outside in this weather." With despair, the child said, "Dad, can I go alone, please?" His father waited for a moment and then said, "Son, you can go. Here's the flyers and be careful." "Thank you, Dad." No, he's very pleasant with his dad. "Thank you." And with this, the son went out into the rain. The 11-year-old walked all the streets of the village, handing out flyers to the people he saw. After 2 hours of walking in the rain and in the cold, and his last flyer in his hand, he stopped in a corner to see if he saw someone to give the flyer to, but the streets were totally deserted. Then he turned to the first house he saw, walked to the front door, touched the bell several times and waited, but no one came out. Finally, the boy turned to leave, but something stopped him. The child turned back to the door and began to touch the bell and pound the door strongly with his knuckles. He kept waiting. Finally, the door was opened gently. A lady came out with a very sad look and gently asked, "What can I do for you, son?" With radiant eyes and a bright smile, the child said, "Lady, I'm sorry if I upset you, but I just want to tell you that God really loves you. And then I came to give you my last flyer, which talks about God and his great love." Yeah, it does bring tears to my eyes, too, as I read it. The boy then gave her the flyer. She just said, "Thank you, son. God bless you." Well, next Sunday morning, the pastor was in the pulpit, and when the service began, he asked, "Someone has a testimony or something they want to share with the congregation?" Gently, in the back row of the church, an elderly lady stood up. When she started talking, a radiant and glorious look sprouted from her eyes. "Nobody in this church knows me. I have never been here before. Even last Sunday, I was not a Christian. My husband died a while ago, leaving me totally alone in this world. Last Sunday was a particularly cold and rainy day, and it was also in my heart that on that day I came to the end of the road since I had no hope and didn't want to live anymore. Then I took a chair and a rope and went up to the attic of my house. I tied one end of the rope to the rafters of the roof. Then I climbed onto a chair and I put the other end of the rope around my neck. I then stood on the chair so alone and heartbroken, I was about to throw myself off the chair when suddenly I heard a loud sound on the door being knocked. So I thought, I'll wait for a minute and whoever it is will go away. I waited and waited, but the door knocking was getting louder and louder every time. It got so loud that I couldn't ignore it anymore. So no one ever comes close to my door or comes to visit me. I released the rope from my neck and went to the door while the bell was still ringing and the door was still being knocked on. So I wondered, who could it be? When I opened the door, I couldn't believe what my eyes saw. In front of my door was this most radiant and angelic child I've ever seen. His smile, oh, I can never describe it. The words that came out of his mouth made my heart, dead so long ago, come back to life when he said with a voice of a cherub, "Lady, I just wanted to tell you that God really loves you." When the little angel disappeared between the cold and the rain, I closed my door and read every word of the flyer. Then I went to the attic to remove the chair and the rope. I didn't need them anymore. As you see, now I am a happy daughter of the King. As the direction of the boy when he left was to this church, I came personally say thank you to the little angel of God who came just in time, in fact, to rescue my life from an eternity in hell and replaced it with an eternity in God's present. Everyone cried in the church. The pastor came down from the pulpit to the first bench of the front where the little angel was sitting. He took his son in his arms and cried uncontrollably. I don't think I read this yesterday. Don't let this message die of cold. After reading it, pass it on to others. Okay. Remember, God's message can make a big difference in someone's life. Never be afraid to spread it.
Thank you.
Whatever the message
I was
is.
going to ask you during my session to read that because it meant so much to me. But since Corey asked, and it is a small group,
Yeah.
that is how powerful kindness is and what it can do, because the story resonated with my own life.
Thank you. I enjoyed reading it again, and I will tell my sister Mari-Lyn, the other ambassador of fun, as we call ourselves, who I have to tell you, we have two rules. I think, did Kimberly, did you hear? No. We have two rules. The ambassadors of fun is self-titled, you have to realize, because we're fun, and we were going to be ambassadors of jazz because we follow Dixieland jazz, but no, that's too limiting. So we decided 13 years ago we'd be ambassadors of fun. Okay, but it has two rules. I want you to write them down because you're all ambassadors of fun now, because you know me. No worry or stress 24/7. No worry or stress 24/7. Try to work on that one. No matter what your struggles are, no matter what you are worried about or what you lost or what you can't do, don't worry about it. And don't stress over it because you can't change anything. You can't change it anyway. You just have to work it out. Okay, so that's my daily challenge, 24/7, to do that. All right.
That's beautiful. That's kindness to yourself to me, because it's like allowing what happens to happen. It's like trusting yourself to show up and respond to that rather than react or be taken over by it. And it's inclusive, right? Because that's saying there's a value in everything that's happening to you because it's serving its purpose.
And my sister follows that rule so good. I don't know. I think she's the cherub of God. I'm following in her footsteps. I don't think I'm as great at, but anyway, so thank you for listening.
Yeah, no, beautiful. That was beautiful for me. And for my interpretation and like the context of it, and that story says a lot of these things, but I see kindness as like the way it shows up is compassion, respect, trust, appreciation, inclusiveness of people. For me, more in the workplace, it's a sense of autonomy. So like Kimberly said, asking questions or engaging people in taking some control or ownership. It's making sure that there's a focus on a work-life balance. Of course, ambassador of fun, you need to have fun. Kindness is enjoyable. And then there's like a level of bonding. Collaboration is another one. And then I think like behind the scenes of kindness, that it's harder for other people who just see it as like a soft, fluffy word or gender specific is, at the end of the day, kindness is self-interested. It's hard to get somebody to be kind when they don't have an interest, but once you are kind and you see the positive influence it has on oneself and you benefit emotionally, some researchers say more as the giver than the receiver. It is self-interested. It's invisible, right? We can't see the impact it's having on us, just like we can't see the impact of our working out, but and then going to the gym every day. But over time, that compound effect does make a difference. Same with kindness. And it's very actionable. The things that we do when we're kind, it's because somebody's recognizing an action or a behavior or a phrasing we have. And then for me, at the end of the day, it's happiness. So maybe we could do this one a little quicker, but basically, I think everybody has a different interpretation of what kindness at work means. So maybe we could just like each pick one of these questions and share a response. For me, the ideal kind place is a place where employees want to, where they feel happy, engaged, and connected to something bigger. So if we're open to it, like what makes kindness at work important for you? Maybe what does it actually look like when there's a company that's being kind, or what would be an outcome that you would see if kindness was in the company?
Can I make a comment?
Please.
You know, I think validation is a way of being kind. So even if you don't like my idea, if I make a suggestion, I like it when a person, and some people do this, Carol, that was really a great idea. I see it kind of a little different way, but thank you for bringing up that idea. They told me that they heard me, and I felt good about that they heard me. They might go a completely different direction. That's okay. But yes, I got validated from what I said. And I don't see that enough in the work, in my workplace organizations. They just dismiss. I say something, dismiss it, go on to another person. They have an idea, dismiss it, go on to another person. Then they pick, oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
Right.
Validation, whether they want to go with your idea or they just let you know that they heard your idea. I think that's what Kimberly said too, the eye contact and listening. Yeah, validation.
Thank you. Yeah, validation, listening. Gina, any others or any ways you see it being implemented or an outcome that would happen after a company was being kind?
As a conscious leader, I work with various different companies, and, I go in and I work on conscious culture and conscious leadership, and you can see the difference, in people's energy when you're doing something, kind for other people outside of yourself, more mission driven, opposed to just, business is business, or, working 8 to 5 for your paycheck. Right. So, and it brings different types of energy and heart and passion into people and also the businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you a higher purpose, a reason, a purpose, right? It's a purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I will say that it's having a kinder workplace also means that there's more collaboration, less friction. In other words, people are more willing to work together, help each other, and, just are more caring, are of another person, whether it's a personal issue they're going through, or maybe it's just a project they're working on with at work.
Right.
Super. Yeah, I resonate with each of these. For me, I don't think there's like a one size fits all. One thing that I'll speak on in a second is like, one of the things I'm looking to do is use this idea of gamification, like creating systems that are built on self-motivation, and they're kind of like standalone where we could help motivate certain actions. But one thing I want to do with this is each company has a different culture. They have different values and learning objectives. And I believe like the culture of kindness in each workplace can be different depending on those values and the actions that we can help people create, people do. And what happens a lot is it's usually a top-down approach where we work with management, we talk to them about why they need to be more kind, or we give them things that they should be doing. But it comes from a place of force because management's now going to the employees and suggesting X, Y, and Z. Whereas if it was more of this system, this gamified system, it's almost like a journey that you're going on your own. And so for like one example of this to make it more contextual is, I was talking with Lancome, the beauty company, about helping create more happiness within their workplace. And what we decided to do was, rather than take some outside system and give them a program or here, this is how we solve your problem, we learned more about some of their training that they do for their retail individuals and designed a mystery hunt-like game that was focused on providing acts of kindness to different customers that came in, which aligned with the actual training step that these individuals had to learn. So there was a self-interest and motivation because they got to do this journey on their own. But then there was also a component of kindness because the activities were actually integrated to the company's culture. So for me, I think it changes from place to place, but I think at the end of the day, this idea of collaboration, inclusiveness, and a sense of purpose is really necessary.
Corey, with the client that you worked with, you mentioned that there is acts of kindness in their training and they had to practice doing them. Can you give us a couple examples of what that looked like?
Yeah, so some of it had to do with their they had this thing called 7 steps of service. And so depending on which step it was, one of them was like, rather than speaking about a product, you speak about where they're going to be going, or what's the event they need this product for. And so in this case, it was being more personable. So the mission for them was to learn about where your client is going to be going and have an authentic conversation, rather than, oh, what do you need? Mascara? Okay, we have this, and this brand. It was more, hey, what event are you going on? Oh, you're going to your brother's wedding. What's that going to be like for you? How are you looking to show up, or something like this? Others could have been like helping a customer look for something. So I forget the steps at this point, but one of the activities we gave is like find a person of a specific personality type and go help them in finding what they're looking for without them coming to you for help. So just like that expression of offering, for instance.
Cool, thanks.
And then, I mean, when I did the good cards as well, we ended up sometimes creating custom missions. So we had like a specific set of activities, such as like the cleaning the litter, donating blood, anonymous act of kindness for somebody. And we ended up working with some groups and made customized missions where when they scanned a good card, it sent people on an activity to donate food to a local shelter or find a student to go and mentor. So this was a way to create the activities, the activations in relation to their purpose or what they were focused on. Okay.
How does the good card work and how would someone implement it? That's not part of your talk, but you can talk about it later if you want to.
Can I speak out later?
Yes, please do.
Okay, I will definitely share.
I do have to leave. Now you have to work on it. I do have to leave at 10:30, but that's okay.
I'll be done super fast.
No, that's okay. You do it whenever you have time. Are you recording this, Mari-Lyn? Well, she will record it. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. Okay, so now I just wanted to jump into some of like the outcomes or metrics we see when we intentionally design or don't incorporate kindness. And so these are just some numbers that I've put in articles that I've written on this space. But 83% of employees, US employees, currently suffer from work-related stress. 52% of employees who are stressed, it's because they're lacking social and emotional well-being. And then this number is really large for me, but for every dollar spent on wellness, $3.27 is saved on expenses. So that means if a company is putting $1 into taking care of their employees, they're ending up earning $2.20 through their savings on medical expenses. And the reason for that is because of the stress that the workforce has. And so for me, kindness is like your return is right here in these numbers.
Yeah, because kindness will relate to not just the physical, mental, not the mental, but the physical elements that they're trying to save on, but also on your mental and emotional well-being.
Exactly. And then you're getting financial savings. So you're actually having a better budget because you're taking care of your employees. You're upfront spending money, yes, but we always have to invest in our company in order to grow it. So why not invest in our employees that are necessary? And then here's some other numbers that are relevant to me as well. And this is just trying to focus more on the positive.
Well, definitely if somebody's happy, they're going to be more productive. So it's making them happy when they're gratified.
Yeah.
When they're given, encouragement or whatever they need to do, whatever it is they're doing. Do you speak to tech companies, Corey?
We kind of lost him. His voice is gone.
Oh, okay. I want to know if he talked to technology companies like it, if he would. I'm sure he would.
Yeah.
Where are you, Corey? Hello?
We can't hear you.
I've messaged him, but I don't.
Well, he's in New Jersey, so I mean, Cherry. I mean, really.
He's in the storm.
Better now, or do you still not hear me?
Now, yes.
Now you can.
All right, so I'll just take these off. I am definitely open to speaking to tech companies. I just haven't as of yet, or I haven't formed any client relationships yet. Well,
I'm with not only Rotary, but I sort of the liaison with the Rotaractors. Rotaractors are the
yeah, I'm an honorary Rotarian.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Are you an honorary Rotarian like a Paul Harris fellow?
I don't see. I would rather be called a Rotarian. When I was first in Rotary through the service work I was doing in Vermont at the time. That's where I was living.
So why are you not in Rotary now?
Well, COVID, I'm not in now, but I've actually.
No, we have all Zoom meetings. Come to my meeting at noon in San Jose, Silicon Valley at 12 o'clock on the 1st and 3rd.
Send me, let me, I will
I'm having a bingo game from 6 to 7 now. That's my time. 6, 7, 8. That's
Carol,
bedtime.
Can you post your stuff in the chat?
Yeah, put your contact. I can't believe that you're not a Rotarian.
Yeah, and what's interesting is in the platform fund funding that I created, which is I helped create, which is an online gaming platform.
Yeah.
We work with nonprofits and community groups across the nation, and we've had some Rotaract chapters form a team, invite their whole community to join and play. And from everybody just playing these online games, they were able to earn donations for a local charity.
I love it. We can do that now with the COVID, can't we?
Exactly. And now's the perfect time because everything's remote.
Corey,
telephone. Telephone.
Did you share the link of your platform? I arrived late. I'm sorry.
Yes, I didn't actually show it in the presentation. But if you connect with me, I can give you some info after, because the main site for it doesn't have the actual platform on it.
Okay.
So we could connect
Telephone number.
directly.
Please put the telephone number, cell number in the.
Yes.
So I'll send you an email, right? Is that the best way?
That's perfect. That's the best. Or LinkedIn is fine too.
And I want to, I mean, whenever it's time for us to share, I have worked in high tech, and I worked in a company that had a gamified experience to motivate employees to abide to the values. And that's, I mean, I can talk to you later one-on-one if you want, or I can share some here whenever you think it's
you
the
can
time.
share some now too if you'd like, because literally the next stat I was going to share is what happens when we use gamification. So you can speak first, and then I'll share the number, because it'll support whatever you say.
Yeah, I mean, what I have found is it's a boring web page with a lot of text in it. So unfortunately, nothing really to show, although I used to be a user experience consultant, and the experience is really great. So I'm going to explain what it is, and you can always read that afterwards. But the idea was it's this platform in which, it was a social channel. So we had all our employees, and we had our profiles and our pictures. So it looked like very human in that way, a very humanized experience. And let's say I'm in a project with you, and you did something kind to me, like I was having a bad day, and you said, well, that's okay, go for a cup of coffee, and whatever you had to turn in today, you can turn in tomorrow.
Right.
And then let's say I feel really good about this. And then I would go to this platform and give this person a star. So it was called Star Me Up. And I would say, this person was really kind to me. That was not the name of the value they had. They had other values I can't remember right now. But, I would just tag them, and they would get a star. And what would happen is during performance review, that would be one of the elements that would be considered as part of their performance. So of course you have all like your peer-to-peer performance, your boss will tell you how you did, but people would also look at how many stars you got and for which stars you got. So which values are you expressing more or less, and which ones, you can try and work on more. And it was very engaging. One of their values is to have fun. So it felt really fun.
Right,
and and if you invited someone for a bar and you had fun together, then you would get a star for having fun, and that was really nice. So I think that's a great example. And I mean, whenever we talk, I would love to learn more about what you're doing and share. And I'm very enthusiastic about these types of experiences for people to be motivated to have, to have a better work life, because that's where we spend most of our time. We want it to be wonderful. It doesn't have to be the way it is.
Exactly. And when you layer this system, it's not changing the actual actions of your work. You're still doing the same work, but you're doing it through a framework that's either layered on top. So your experience of doing your work is like you're getting rewarded as you're doing your activities, or like you shared that the gamifications on the side elements, but it's all interconnected. And so we're just changing the way we see our work through that system. And that's why I really like it, because if you do it properly, a gamified experience is self-motivated. So no matter what we are helping people engage in, we're doing it in a way that the user feels as though they're doing it because they want to, or they're motivated, which they are, but there's also that, like, I guess like a crutch in a way. We're helping create that sense of motivation.
But we're meeting a basic human need that is to be seen, to be recognized, and it's just a beautiful way of doing it. And of course, it's gamified. We have like the people who got more stars, less stars, the one that are progressing more, and all of that statistics that kind of came along. But but it's really about meeting a human need and make it really public, right? It's different when someone tells you, hey, you did a great job. And when someone gives you a star, everyone can see.
Everyone sees exactly. That's what earlier before you joined, we were talking about like some things like what does it look like when you see kindness in a company? One of the ideas was validation, because like make sure people are heard, make sure they're recognized, because then they can fit in. And the number I had for gamified is 83% of those who receive gamified training feel motivated, while 60% of those who receive non-gamified training feel bored and unproductive.
Wow.
So over 75% want to be working now from their system, whereas if there's no system, over half of them are bored and have that sense of like presenteeism where they're there, but they're not doing anything.
Like it.
Okay, cool. And then the last slide, which I'll show in a second, but it's like on actual kindness activities. I just list some examples, but before I show the ones I have, like we kind of touched on this in the morning. I mean, at the beginning, not morning. But what are some kindness activities that you could see or you would bring into the workplace? Like more actionable things rather than the stuff we said earlier, like validation or listening.
Well, Carol's really good for this, and that would be, volunteering at the food pantry.
Yes.
But during the COVID-19 thing, I couldn't get too many people to help me with that. But there's lots of need in the community. And if you just get out there and stay 6 feet away and put your mask on, you can do it if you have any energy and want to do it. But a lot of people are fearful and they want to stay away. But volunteering, there's volunteering online too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he means kindness. You're talking about kindness.
That's kindness to me.
Kindness in the workplace.
Some of the other, like here's some examples that I would suggest, but like.
Well, I'm going to every day put something in a chat to your friends about how you value them, whether it be in your workplace or whether it be your friends. It's hard to do that. By having these motivational speakers that Mary has, which are so good, it reminds me that every day we need to reach out to people that we're working with and tell them how important they are to our lives and how much we appreciate their time and spending with it, or just say something nice. It could be one sentence, but do it daily. Not to everybody, but do it to somebody randomly every day. Not just communicate about work, but tell them how important you value their time or their knowledge, whatever it is that you value.
Yeah, it comes into the communication.
Yeah, gratitude days. Yeah, gratitude. I like that. I'm going to take a picture of your screen.
Cool. Fun Fridays. I used to do this a lot, but the idea was that we would, on Fridays, it was actually, ironically, it was when I was with a global remote team, but everybody dressed up on Fridays for conference calls. And so time we saw people wearing like what looked like a Halloween costume. Other times people were making up some unique things with wigs and funny dresses that they hadn't worn in a while. Funny hats, all the 9 yards. And then everybody's in the call and you're talking about work, but you can't help but smile because you're seeing these outfits people are wearing. We've touched on that a bunch, but Kimberly also was speaking about it, like the questions. For me, kindness is a form of kindness activity is questioning, because you're giving autonomy and you're showing that person's opinion is wanted and it's being heard. There's been a lot, especially during COVID, but a lot of companies right now are popping up with virtual team bonding events where, I mean, the two I put here are trivia shows and escape rooms, but they're doing mixology classes. They're doing, one group I saw, they do this thing where it's like the Amazing Race, but it's on Google Maps. And so you get sent to France with your little team and you have to go find little things that show up on Street View of Google Maps. And so now you're using that sense of collaboration, you're doing discovery, you're feeling like you're in a new place. And then I think it's underrated still, even though it's beginning to really grow as a market segment. But the wellness activities are really a sense of kindness for me, because when we meditate, we help people get more calm. We help people be no worries to everything, like the ambassador of fun. You have more time to be responsive. You're more at ease. Yoga, there's a lot of scientific research showing that when you do more yoga, you can increase more. There's a whole thing to it, but there's this idea of like your vagal tone, which is how much oxygen you have in your body. And the more oxygen you have, the more peaceful you could be. And then same thing with like working out and fitness activities. This is like a type of gamifying we can do where people could be challenged with each other to take care of their health.
Yeah, got it.
And then that's it. I always like to try to close things like this with like vision mapping or trying to see the future. But the way I typically would ask this is like, if you had a magic wand that you could wave and everybody would start doing one thing every day that would be kind to help this world be better, like what would your magic wand have people start doing? And while we think some of the answers I've heard in the past have been very diverse and different, I heard as simple as like people would always open the door for somebody else. I've heard people would eat more fruits and vegetables in the morning. I've heard people would ride their bike every day to be more sustainable. So like maybe if we can close my little piece.
I think that people should be more cheerful when they see somebody that they know and greet them. I say hello to everybody that I see that I know and try to let them know that I've seen them. Not just to bypass them, but I say hi, but if I know their name, I call them by name. And when somebody across the way says hello to me, it makes me feel really good. Hi, Carol, or just hi. They don't even have to say my name. Just greeting people. A lot of people don't think it's important to say hello or to make a big announcement about that. But it's welcoming. It doesn't take a second to say hello to somebody. You don't have to carry on a conversation with them. Just say hello.
It's that like acknowledgement almost.
Yeah.
Super. Anyone else
I have to go
to work? Okay. See ya. Beautiful to connect.